Hello, I'm Michael Popove. Coming up on Week in Review, one man is dead after an accident at CF Industries here in Medicine Hat, and it was a deadly of couple days on highways around southeast Alberta this weekend. Those stories and more coming up on Week in Review.
From the Broadcast Center in Medicine Hat, in high definition, this is Chat News Week in Review.
Welcome and thank you for joining us. One of two workers rushed to hospital after an ammonia leak at CF Industries Monday has died. The fire department responded to the scene Monday morning to attend to the victims. Now, CF Industries is not speculating on the cause of the leak, but says it was stopped quickly. They also say the leak did not pose a hazard to the public, and there were no reports of any other impact inside or outside the facility. Deputy Fire Chief Lance Purcell says they were called in to help the CF emergency crew.
The CF team had already rescued or extracted the individuals, and we were there to help assist in medical and then getting them off to the hospital.
The second worker was treated and released from hospital. Occupational Health and Safety is investigating the incident. For one local man, the scene that unfolded before him last Saturday night is one he will never forget. Jorge Morales was driving on Highway 3 when he witnessed a fatal crash that killed a 5-year-old boy and a 33-year-old man. The crash happened just east of Tabor. Morales was heading back to Medicine Hat when he heard a loud crash. He says he saw a truck rear-end a vehicle that was trying to make a left-hand turn. Morales immediately got out of his car to help and describes the scene. He says it was chaotic.
I saw the lady that was the driver. She was obviously freaking out inside the car, and she wanted out. She wanted out because she could see her husband and her son on the right-hand side.
A 3-year-old boy in the vehicle was airlifted to hospital in Calgary and is now recovering. 2 women were also taken to hospital. The extent of their injuries is not known. Morales says other witnesses described the truck as traveling at a high rate of speed before the crash. RCMP continue to investigate and say charges are pending. The accident has renewed calls on social media for the twinning of Highway 3. And another fatal accident last weekend, this one on Highway 41 just outside of Elkwater. RCMP say just after 5 p.m. Sunday night, a man was killed in a head-on crash near the entrance to the Elkwater town site. It happened when a northbound Dodge Caravan crossed the center line and drove head-on into a southbound Dodge Ram pickup. 5 others were treated for various injuries, 3 of them taken to hospital. The identity of the deceased is not being released, but police say he was a man who may have been a temporary foreign worker. Police continue to investigate, but Staff Sergeant Sean Maxwell says the man who died wasn't wearing a seatbelt.
In terms of things right now, it looks like none of the occupants in the Dodge Caravan were wearing their seatbelts, but it does not look like alcohol or drugs were a factor at all in this one. It was just the driver drove over the center line.
The trial for Michael Carolyn will begin this week. He's the Medicine Hat man shot by police more than 2 years ago. Carolyn is facing a total of 12 charges, including assaulting a police officer. The charges stem from an incident back in September of 2013. Police say they were called to a home on Rideau Close and arrived to find a distraught male with a firearm. Officers say Carolyn exited the residence holding more than one gun. As a result, investigators say Carolyn was shot multiple times by police, critically injuring him. It marked the first time since the early 1980s Medicine Hat Police had an officer-involved shooting. The trial is scheduled to run from December 14th to the 18th. Fleeing a violent situation is rarely as simple as packing a bag and walking away. Many people share leases with their abusers and find themselves with no other place to go. But with the new bill passed this week, the NDP government is looking to make it easier for those fleeing domestic violence. Bill 204 amends the Residential Tenancy Act to allow those in abusive situations to break a lease early without financial penalty. Natasha Carvalho says she believes this could help people walk away from domestic violence easier.
Domestic violence is on the rise in our community, and in this economic times, I think we're seeing a lot of stresses for families, and so I think any sort of support for families and victims of domestic violence is wonderful. It's just, just want to make sure that everything works properly and fairly for everybody.
The specifics of the bill still need to be ironed out. Consultations with landlords, tenants, and women's organizations are slated to begin in January. Well, a Medicine Hat woman is looking for answers after losing a cherished member of her family this week. And while she comes to grips with what happened at a local kennel, she has a message for pet owners to be careful when leaving your pets in the care of others this holiday season.
The worst morning of my life. Harley still looked good, and he just seemed like he was going to wake up, so yeah.
But Harley didn't wake up. And Shay Philpott describes hearing the news no dog owner ever wants to hear when the veterinarian called crying on the other end of the phone.
She said, "I have terrible news, Harley's gone."
Her little Yorkie Harley died from injuries he sustained after getting attacked by a bigger dog at a local kennel. His brother Gunther lost his eye in the same attack, and Shay says she's just devastated.
He must have attacked Gunther first, and we just know our dogs very well, and we do figure that Harley went in to protect Gunther, and unfortunately the dog took Harley by the throat and ultimately led him to lose his life.
Shay says 10 dogs were allowed to play together, including a boxer, which the kennel said didn't exhibit any aggressive tendencies. She says the staff feels horrible and is paying the vet bills while the owner of the boxer is taking care of Harley's cremation. Incidents like these in Medicine Hat are rare, but they have happened in the past. Now, staff here at the Cypress Zoo Veterinary Clinic say the number one question you should be asking the kennel when you drop off your pets is, are you a social kennel or do you separate your dogs?
If it is a social kennel, then how many dogs, how many people watching the dogs? Do you keep the small dogs with the small dogs, big dogs with the big dogs?
But Dr. Rowe says there still can be issues with even the most obedient dogs, whether it be at a kennel or at an off-leash park.
It may be really great with a couple of other dogs, but you put a dog in a pack situation, they can be unpredictable.
Come here, little man. Come here.
As for Shay, at first she was very angry, but says she's trying desperately to forgive.
Harley and Gunther are kids, right? And so it just took a huge piece out of us. Like, I don't know if my family will be okay for a little while.
All right, please stay with us. Still to come, angry farmers react after the NDP government passed the controversial Bill 6. We'll have that story and more coming up after the break. Welcome back. Farmers across Alberta have been protesting Bill 6 for weeks now, but despite those protests, the bill passed its third and final reading on Thursday. And Energy Minister Marg McCaig-Boyd broke down in tears during the final hours of the debate on Alberta's controversial farm bill.
We spent 28 years as a cow-calf operator.
McCaig-Boyd is married to a farmer and told the legislature her adult children are who they are because of farming. This debate has brought up a lot of emotion. The Southeast Alberta Agriculture Advocate Group has been among those protesting the bill. And their spokesman Bruce Johnson said he's not surprised the bill passed, but he is disappointed the government didn't listen to Albertans. Details of the new regulations still need to be worked out.
We'd like to now interact with the government. I mean, we call on the government to interact with us. There's over, in our board of our group, there's over 100 years in agriculture experience from all sides of agribusiness. So we'd like to be a part of the regulatory process.
And this week, the government passed an amendment to exempt volunteers, neighbors, and family members from Worker Compensation Board coverage. The low price of oil and the thousands of layoffs in Alberta are having a deep impact across the province. Many people have been out of work for months. Now, their employment insurance benefits are starting to run out as well. For some, it comes at the worst possible time of year.
There's days that I just, I wake up thinking, geez, I wish I just wouldn't wake up. I just don't want to deal with this.
It's a situation Monica Murray could not have imagined a year and a half ago. Her husband Mark was driving a truck for a local company making $25 an hour. But he was laid off and his employment insurance has run out. And now, 3 weeks before Christmas, the Murrays are being forced from their home.
We have no choice. We've got our eviction notice, so we're supposed to be out by the 12th.
Monica quit her job to pack up their things. She describes her husband Mark as a proud man who did not want to appear on camera, but says he's suffering from depression.
He's applying everywhere and not even a callback. It's frustrating and hopeless, like we're about to lose a vehicle, and it just feels like there's no end to it.
They're moving to Saskatchewan because they feel there's a better chance of Mark finding a job there. The Murray situation is one many unemployed Albertans are having to face. Foreclosures, vehicle repossessions, and bankruptcies are all looming as EI starts to run out and jobs are hard to come by. Cypress Medicine Hat MLA Drew Barnes says these are the reasons why the Wild Rose Party is calling for an emergency meeting with the provincial government.
The Wild Rose has come out and asked for the Notley government to immediately call a big meeting on the social cost to Alberta with this downturn.
The federal employment minister, Marianne Mahaichuk, says the system needs to be revamped. She says laid-off workers could look for other jobs or go back to school, but there's not much the Canadian government can do in the short term.
It's a crisis in Alberta. What is available in the short term is an EI system that's outdated and inflexible and making it extremely difficult for natural resource workers.
But that is not a lot of consolation for Albertans like the Murrays.
I'm not even going to worry about setting up the tree because to me, there's nothing to set up for. Can't put nothing under the tree.
And with little hope in the near future for the economy, it's a situation many families across Alberta will be forced to endure this Christmas. It's been a rough ride for oil on the markets over the last week. The price of crude slipping well below $40 a barrel, a level not seen since the global financial crisis back in 2008. Todd Hirsch is a senior economist with ATB and says oil prices should rebound in the next few weeks. But he adds right now there are no big oil projects in the works in Alberta that are viable around the $40 per barrel mark. He says OPEC failing to cut production this week is cause for some concern.
With $37 oil, things are extremely difficult and quite dire here for the province. My guess is that we are going to see a bit of a bottom here and then probably a bit of a boost back up before Christmas time.
Hirsch says any hopes of oil returning to the $60 per barrel mark will take anywhere from 6 months to a year. And low commodity prices are a 1-2 punch for the city of Medicine Hat. Not only are oil and gas prices in the tank, but so too is electricity. Historically, when oil and gas was low, electricity was high, and the city would still bring in money. This year, that's not the case, and Medicine Hat is looking at a massive $24.5 million shortfall in the energy dividend. Mayor Ted Clugston says they're looking to diversify, but are still optimistic commodity prices will rebound.
We're poised to bring on a new generator in 2017, late 17, and we could be perfectly positioned to take advantage of those coal plants coming offline. So inside the doom and gloom, there are some positive things going forward.
Those heading up the city's natural gas and petroleum resource division are predicting oil and gas prices will remain lower for the next few years and then rebound closer to the year 2020. The overall cost for Medicine Hat's flood mitigation plans has jumped. It now sits at $59 million. Meanwhile, the city is still waiting on further funding from the province. To date, the city has spent around $33 million building berms in Harlow and Lions Park to protect some of the city's most vulnerable areas. So far, the province has only chipped in around $16 million. The Notley government has pledged hundreds of millions of dollars over the next 10 years for communities like Calgary and High River. Mayor Ted Clugston says the struggle to get provincial funding means the city is now having to change how it will complete the remaining projects.
You're going to see some more information coming forward on our strategy going forward as to when we're going to do those projects, but a lot of it will be now dependent on provincial funding. We're going to try to finish the 33 with whether the province gets on board or not, but the next projects will be much more heavily dependent upon the province.
Clugston says the city expects the province will announce flood funding for Medicine Hat and other areas across Alberta either sometime this month or in January. Medicine Hat is getting $4.7 million from the province for upgrades to South Railway Street. The money is coming from the Municipal Sustainability Initiative. It'll allow the city to do some general road work, make upgrades to curbs and gutters, as well as complete a water line replacement. The city is still in the planning phase of the project, which will stretch from Kingsway Avenue to the bottom of Shoten Hill. MLA Bob Warner announced the funding late Tuesday.
I've been urging the government as the MLA for Medicine Hat to ensure that we get our fair share of that fund, and I'm pleased that they were able to fund the city of Medicine Hat for that particular project.
And the city says the South Railway project is expected to start in the spring of 2016. All right, please do stay tuned as one man loses his job to illness just before Christmas without any benefits to help him through the holiday season. Well, that story coming up after the break. Welcome back. For many, it's the most wonderful time of the year. It's a time when families are coming together to celebrate the holidays. But that's not the case for one man who's lost his job due to illness, and he's without any benefits to fall back on. Mitch Bach has his heartbreaking story.
I want to work. I don't like being at home. I'm a worker, and I'd like to work.
Just a few months ago, Chris Gaumont was in the prime of his life, starting up a new career opportunity with a trucking company in Lethbridge.
I went to work one morning, and I went and stopped to get a coffee, and I got out into the truck, and that's the last thing I remember.
Gaumont blacked out behind the wheel.
I went around a corner, and the truck landed up on the curb on a telephone pole. And I don't remember a thing.
After the accident, he went straight to the hospital.
A week of evaluations and tests revealed that I have a 17-millimeter pineal cyst in my brain. And it is in the center, in the core.
The cyst is non-life-threatening. Treatment hopes to shrink it over time. But doctors have told him he can't work.
I'm very shaky. I have very, very bad vision. Dizzy spells, headaches, and I'm exhausted.
The accident happened during Chris's probationary period with the company. He was let go shortly thereafter. He has since applied for employment insurance, but he doesn't know whether he qualifies. So his roommate, Stacy, started up a GoFundMe account in a desperate attempt to help him through the month.
He's a very proud gentleman, and he has a few months ahead of him that are going to be very difficult. Even if he does manage to get the employment insurance funding.
But although their spirits are low this holiday season, the support they have received so far feels like an early Christmas present.
Seeing how many people are willing to rally behind Christopher at this time has been emotional for me as well.
Knowing that what I've done or what people have done for me it can never be repaid.
Mitch Bach, Chat News.
The Corona charity auction has raised more than $52,000 to help support local families this holiday season. Donations were slightly down compared to last year for the annual auction. All of the money raised goes towards the Santa Claus Fund, which helps put Christmas dinner on the table and presents under the tree for families in need. Over 100 items were up for auction this year. Everything from a diamond ring to toys for kids. Auction coordinator Lorraine Schmaltz says she's surprised with how much money they were able to raise this year.
Every year is different. This year, you know, with the economy the way it is in the city of Medicine Hat, I am actually very surprised it was at $52,000.
And one of the most popular items of the night was a 9-foot-tall teddy bear, which sold for $2,200. Well, finally this week, soccer or rugby is usually the sport of choice for many Brits. But this week, members of the British Army at Suffield traded in their cleats for skates. And they took to the ice for Canada's favourite pastime. Alicia Drous has more on the annual hockey holiday game.
A ceremonial puck drop kicked off a day of hockey at the Ralston Arena. It's a holiday tradition for members from the Canadian Armed Forces and the British Army to get together and take part in some friendly competition. CFB Suffield Base Commander Lieutenant Colonel John Scott says it's a good way to celebrate everyone's hard work throughout the year.
Today's event's really about marking camaraderie among the different folks on base. So you've got teams based out of different rank levels, from private to corporal, master corporal, sergeant and warrant officer.
Each team consists of both British nationals and Canadians, and while some have been on skates as long as they can remember, Nick Seeley-Thompson with Battis says that's not the case for everyone.
Well, I've been here for 4 years now, but most of the Brits who come here have never played hockey or even stepped on the ice before they get here. So I've been playing for 4 years, which equates roughly to a 6-year-old Canadian.
Regardless of the different skill levels, Captain Ryan Murphy says it's a fun way to share a part of Canadian culture with their British counterparts.
It's great. Having the international feel here is something you don't get anywhere else in Canada. And building that esprit de corps between our two nations is a great honor.
The annual Hockey Day is one of the last chances for everyone to get together before many of them head home for the holidays, whether that's across the country or across the ocean. Seeley-Thompson says he'll be spending his holiday skiing in the Rockies before coming back in January for another busy year.
We're delivering 4 major exercises a year. So at the peak of the season, we'll have about 3,000 troops over from UK or Germany training here. We deliver 4 of those. They last about a month long.
And while Seeley-Thompson considers himself still fairly new to hockey, he says he's already looking forward to next year because, like many Canadians, he's fallen in love with the sport. Alicia Drous, Chat News.
And that is all the time we have this week. Please join us weekdays for the Chat News at noon and again at 5:30. Thank you for watching. Enjoy your weekend, everyone.